The Turning was directed by Floria Sigismondi, who directed The Runaways and various music video shorts. It's a modern retelling of the Henry James novel The Turn of the Screw, and this modern one stars Mackenzie Davis as a woman that was hired to go tutor a young girl named Flora, played by Brooklyn Prince. She also has an older brother by the name of Miles, who's played by Finn Wolfhard. And there's a caretaker, gardener, whatever you want to call her, a woman that has been with the family for many, many years, Mrs. Gross, played by Barbara Martin. And there's, it's a bit of a spooky, isolated house and everything. There's a dark history. The kids have had a lot of nannies, and tutors leave. And it's a family that's been steeped in tragedy. Their parents died. There's a whole lot of other stuff. There's these, there's these sections of the house you're not supposed to go into. And Mackenzie Davis's character, Kate, of course, will go do all this stuff. Because if you've seen the trailer, you've pretty much seen every scare in the movie. This movie is fucking bad. And it's mainly bad because it's boring. It's incredibly boring. Like, it is aggressively boring. It hits you over the head with the boredom. And I got what they were trying to do. If you've read the book, and even if you've seen any haunted house spoopy movie, you know exactly what you're going to get. There's some jump scares that aren't scary at all. This is a typical January dump month horror movie. I can't imagine this movie would succeed in any other month. This is exactly what a studio will release when they say, well, we filmed it, it didn't cost much, let's just shove it out there, and then idiots like myself will go watch it. It was really, really fucking boring. I mean, you get a little bit of a backstory. I'm going to get into spoilers here in a little bit, but you get a little bit of a backstory with Kate, who has a history of her parents not being there for her. Her mother has some issues. Will those issues go on, with Kate? Is what she's seen actually true? Are the kids just fucking with her? Were the kids fucking with every other nanny just to drive them insane? Because the kids are actually really fucking evil. All these questions and less are answered in this movie. I don't mind movies that do slow burn. This one did a bit of a slow burn before starting to do the scares and stuff like that. The problem is you need to make the scares good, and the scares weren't. The acting was fine. The acting among these main four characters was just fine. I will give full credit, especially the kids. It's hard to, I don't want to rag on kids too much because it's got to be difficult for kids to get in there and act and everything as their brains are still developing. Brooklyn Prince has a bright future. I actually think she was creepier in this than Finn Wolfhard was. Because he was creepy in this. He was the one, if you've seen the trailer, where he steps on the fish. He did, it'd be hard to avoid the goddamn trailer. But he seems like the creepier one until you watch the actual movie. And then it's like, they try to make this, this paper thin plot. This is such a thin plot. Make it where, maybe Kate's having it all in her head and everything, and maybe these ghosts or these images she's seen are all in her head. Maybe she really is crazy. Maybe she's not. Maybe there is a ghost out there to get her and everybody that has been dispatching anyone that comes into the house because it's trying to protect the kids, or because it's an evil ghost that wants to control the house. I stopped caring halfway through this movie, and the ending was just absolutely ridiculous. Again, spoilers will be up there in just a little bit, but this movie was absolute ass. There were no scares in it. Any of the scary imagery just wasn't scary at all. There was a few atmospheric shots. The cinematography was just fine, but the writing, it's like the writing, the writing brothers. I believe they're the Hayes brothers, or if they're not brothers, then, it's just a coincidence the two guys with the same last name decided to write a movie. I don't know if they were replaced by, a narcoleptic whale or something, but good fucking grief. This movie was shit. This movie was complete shit. I really can't say anything more without getting into spoilers here, so yeah, don't watch it. Wait till Netflix. It's really fucking stupid. And any of the twists and turns they try, they don't make sense, because the movie goes back in on itself, and the movie tries to make it where, like, she's crazy, or she's not, or this and this. It tries to keep you guessing. The problem is the vast majority of people are going to stop caring before this movie is even close to being over. And it tries to have some nice setup, and it has barely anything. This movie's 95 minutes, and it felt like it was about, I'd say, an hour longer than that. It wasn't any good. It was not any fucking good. So now we're getting into the spoilers here. So at 5 minutes, Excuse me. 3, 2, 1, and go. So Kate has an insane mother, a mother that's in an insane asylum, basically, is visiting her before she goes off and takes this tutoring job. Apparently she has a really good tutoring job at this college or something with one of her friends, or at least they're just out of college. And it's just her. It's just, her and this roommate. She takes this job because she wants to help people. The girl doesn't have parents. She knows what it's like to not have parents. The dad left and the mother went insane. And they kept going with this underlying theme that maybe Kate's issues tie back to her mother and is genetic. Like, this whole thing of mental illness could be genetic. That's something you could touch on and you actually could delve into pretty well. Hereditary did that pretty damn well, and other movies have done that well. This movie did not do that. This movie tried to be more clever than it really was. And then you got the stuff about, like, Flora trusts her at first, but according to Mrs. Gross, can't leave the property. If she leaves the property, then, she will die. And this girl has it ingrained in her head that if she leaves the property, she's going to, freaking die. And there's one scene where they almost it's a big old estate and everything, and they get more towards the gate, and she's like, no, I don't want to die, I don't want to die. And it's like a really goofy scene, and everybody just seems to be acting almost in different movies. Like, nothing totally connects. And even though the acting is good, it just wasn't anything interesting. And then they try to have this ending where, Kate was seeing this ghost of this, caretaker by a guy named Quint, who she sees his ghost a little bit. The special effects in this movie also weren't very good, but I imagine that the budget was really small, so I'm not going to fault the special effects people. But there's this idea that he was a bad influence on Miles, and Miles has a violent past. He got expelled from school. Flora seems okay, but again, Flora is actually the creepier of the two kids if you're really breaking it down. And there's the stuff, if you've seen the trailers, where, Kate starts getting, the hands get on her. It's like this kind of stuff. There's an East Wing that she's not supposed to go to, but of course, like an idiot, she does. And there's so many red flags in this movie where it's like, why the fuck are you taking this? Within the first day, you should know, this is a bad idea. I'm getting the fuck out of here. But she doesn't do that. She doesn't do that at all. She stays around because she feels an attachment to Flora, which ends up biting her in the ass. And then we find out that this guy Quint may have been, killing the previous nannies, or, because he had, he desired them, and Mrs. Gross may have taken care of him. We get a lot of stuff that's told through tell, don't show. And then we just get like a bit of a rushed ending where all of a sudden Kate's like, oh, I'm insane. I'm not actually seeing this stuff and everything. And the kids are like, no, what are you talking about? Even though we agreed that you had seen this stuff and we had seen this stuff before. No, we're just going to pretend like you didn't. And then she sees her mother drawing something and the movie ends. That is pretty much the goddamn end right there. That is it. That's the fucking end of the movie. I don't mind movies that have endings open to interpretation. The thing is, this movie has only one interpretation for its ending. It's shit. This movie isn't scary. The acting is fine. But the problem is they have no story. They have no, good interpretation of a story. I had read this book in school, and actually I remember thinking it was decent, not great, and you could turn it into a good movie if you tried. But with this movie, this one just felt like such shovelware. It's not going to do any favors for, the director. When The Runaways is like probably her most famous movie, and she's directed like a couple of other features, I believe, since then, but mostly the music video shorts. This is not going to do her any favors. No scares in this. Nothing. Nobody would turn on a fucking light, which is horror movie 101. But the house just wasn't all that creepy. It just wasn't. Like, I'm watching. It felt less like a house and more like a horror movie set. And if you don't make the house feel alive, if you don't make it feel like it could be a place you could actually see, then I hate to say it, you pretty much fucking lost me. And that's what this movie did. This movie was bad. And it was about as bad as The Grudge because it was boring. It was aggressively boring. It was like snooze-inducing. So I'm going to have to say F. That's the second F grade I've given out this year. It's about as bad as The Grudge. The Grudge was bad. The Turning was just really, really boring, and there's nothing worse than a boring horror movie. So F, poll up there, perhaps. If I forget to put it there, leave your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.